I'm a one-person indie developer, game maker, writer, programmer, artist, musician, creator of the game Neofeud that's on the screen right now. And I don't have anybody doing any marketing or anything like that for me, so I gotta get on here and say, first of all, Neofeud is on sale, 70% off. So if you have been waiting to pick it up, help me out, help me pay bills and put food in myself and Mrs. Spook and our two kids' mouths by grabbing Neofeud. If you have $4, it's pretty cheap, on Steam or on itch.io, wherever you want to grab it. That will greatly help us out a whole lot. That's happening. If you're into cyberpunk adventure games, created by one person, that's not made by a triple-capitalist exploitative AAA game company. I'm the only basically developer. I did basically all the work on Neofeud, from the art to the music to everything else, with the exception of like about half of the voice acting. And Holly Argent, who also often is in this chat, did play a major role in that as well. But other than that, yeah, it's basically, I say it's a worker cooperative game dev company, Silver Spook Games. But I'm the only worker and owner. Not to say like this is specifically anti-capitalist. Oh, it does have anti-capitalist overtones. I was on the non-compete stream about 2 years ago. No, what am I saying? Like 3 months ago about. And we discussed like the themes of the game Neofeud. It involves like, neo-feudal capitalism, plutocracy, marginalization. It's basically like cyberpunk, but my thing is kind of like make cyberpunk punk again. And this is the second game that I'm currently working on. It's a sequel to Neofeud 1. That's kind of what I do. How's it going? Luna's in the chat. Holy shit, how's it going, Luna? Hey, I can't leave this, otherwise people will all ditch my stream, because I need to maintain eyeball attention economics all over my. I need your eyeballs splattered all over my face. I need your eyeball ectoplasm just like smeared like a thin layer of leftist buttery horsey jelly and jam and butter all over my streams. Freaking metrics, my YouTube metrics. So I can't leave this chat. But Holly can grab a shirt that has Luna on it when she's done. I think the kids are going to sleep. The little mini spooks we have. Me and Holly Argent were in the not to be stream. We have like little baby spooks that they have to go to sleep, and that's got to happen. This is something you'll discover when you make little baby leftists that are gonna come up. You're gonna have to negotiate. Anti-capitalist children is practice. You know what I'm saying? Like teaching them. That's practice. You don't get any more practice than that. It's progeny praxis. I'm trying to work on building more more independent game dev. Independent game dev that isn't in a triple capitalist or small a capitalist game company. Because I work for one, and you ever watch Jim Sterling or any of those guys? Their 100-hour crunch is real. Mental health breakdowns are real. I work with 24-year-old programmers and artists who had fully gray hair because the amount of stress they were under, and they had developed such bad stomach ulcers that they were like regularly hospitalized because of the amount of stress at the age of 24, 25, which is like unheard of, right? But just the amount of stress that capitalism, and in particular in the crunch in the game dev industry, and that was 10 years ago. It's worse now. So anyway, that's kind of my deal, is trying to like, I make games that are kind of about cyberpunk, anti-capitalism, anti-capitalism, against fascism, against bigotry, and trying to illustrate, and they're all personal stories. I'm a person of color from the United States, Hawaii, part of the United States, and I grew up in the ghetto, and I grew up in the ghetto, like I lived in places where everybody was living 22 a house, eating Spam for dinner and rice. That's all they had, and I was a social worker working with homeless children and refugees, the poor, people of color of all types from all over the place. And so Neofeud is a game that's about my stories. Cyberpunk, and it's cool and fun, and I hope it's funny and fun and interesting and meaningful, but also it is serious as well. So anyway, and every dollar you give will go right back into making sure that we have a house. We still don't have a solid house. I've been waiting for 2 months to see if we're not going to be homeless again in Hawaii. I made part of Neofeud 1 while homeless, like eating peanut butter out of a Skippy's jar with a spoon, living in the back of a Mazda Tribute with Holly Argent and our two kids for a period of time, and then also living. It was rough making Neofeud, which is what made it even more. It made it extra anti-capitalist, anti-neo-feudalism. That's what I kind of describe America as, hyper-capitalist hell world. And so every dollar is going to go straight back into making sure that we have the things that we need. It's not going to go into any executives' pockets. And came from my parents actually grew up like literally in the housing in the ghetto, like my dad was like grew up. He's like part Japanese, and he was like, grandma like actually went into we had relatives who went into Japanese internment camps in America, if you know what that is, and they grew up in like literally the Section 8 public housing. Like the area that I work with as a social worker, like they were from the same street that I worked in. We had like, it's like all like, Polynesians, Micronesians, poor people, Puerto Rican, Hispanic, Latin, poor folks from like the Rust Belt that came over to Hawaii. And that was the kind of folks I was working with. That's where I'm from. But my dad, like, he worked at a private school as a teacher, and that's the only way that we could afford like we couldn't afford $15,000 tuition, but I ended up going to the private school, because he taught there, we could get it tuition free. And, so I got bullied a lot in school, and so that kind of made me more, I guess the point is like, I got maybe more introverted, like when I was trying to, I was like, there was a lot of rich white and Asian people at the school. Let's just put it that way. Okay. It's like the school right across the street from where Obama went to school. And most of the people there, like some of them showed up in limos, and I was like showing up in like slippers full of holes. My dad's car was like a 30-year-old Toyota with a bumper falling off. He's constantly fixing it. It squeaked. Everybody made fun of me, and everybody made fun of, we're poor, and also I was like big and Polynesian. Like my build is more like Jason Momoa or The Rock, or like bigger. And when I became a social worker, because I was like, I wanted to work with those kids, I was teaching gaming, and I was working in video games. I worked in the AAA industry, and it was fucking terrible, like I said. And then I was like, maybe I can teach, and maybe I can teach gaming and STEM robotics. I actually taught Lego robotics, Dex robotics to kids. Maybe I could teach them to kids who need it, like the underserved youth who have like no funding for their school. The teachers got to bring toilet paper. The teachers got to pay for their own substitutes. Like in California, they actually had that, where teachers, they didn't have money for books, resources, that to bring in their own toilet paper. The schools are collapsing. Private schools got like Elon Musk teaching the goddamn rocket science, and they have like actual roboticists from the United States military. They have like the Mayo Clinic doctors doing their STEM class on nanotechnological delivery of insulin and cancer treatments and all that kind of shit. But we were like, there's a microscope that's 30 years old and broken. That was our STEM class. So anyway, so I was like, maybe I can come teach. And I was working for a nonprofit teaching STEM to 2nd to 8th grade underserved youth and high school dropouts in that area. And I had to, long story short, I had to develop a alternate surrogate personality that is able to kind of like, have you ever been in a classroom with 30 children? You can't really be just sitting there, looking at your phone. I had to develop, I'm like, I was Chris, and I had like Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I had to be like Chris, the quiet introvert. And I was like, or I'll be like, Chris, and I have like, or Christian, the quiet introvert, and then like, also Mr. Chris, the cool, outgoing. And I had to start learning how to rap, because all the kids were like, they all want to be Bloods and Crips. They all wanted to be like Kanye West and Ice Cube, or who they looked up to, and they're all trying to like, So it was like Step Up to the Street, but in like Hawaiian ghetto with robotics instead of, Antonio Banderas dancing and doing the salsa, or fucking Morgan Freeman teaching people how to write. It was like robotics. Anyway, so that's kind of my deal. So that's again, I'm gonna cut it off there because I can go on a long tangent. I'm gonna stop there, but that's kind of like on the ADHD question. Like I actually am not normally this outgoing as I am on these streams. Like I'm kind of like exhausted. I've had to develop that skill like over time because I had to pay rent. You ever had to pay rent before? It's kind of like that. Anyway, schools sound bad. Yeah, it was pretty terrible. Have you ever been to America? Do you live in America? Have you ever been to a public school in an area that isn't like the average income is 7 figures? The schools are shit. They're collapsing. In San Francisco, this is documented. In San Francisco, teachers have had to pay. San Francisco, one of the very wealthy, right down the street from Mark Zuckerberg's hospital, in the Bay Area, there are teachers who have to pay for their substitute while the teacher is getting chemotherapy for their cancer. They have to pay for their own substitute. With what money? But if they can't, then they could, that's gonna come out of their pocket, right? They have to pay for their own substitute. So that's America. That's what Neofeud is about. That's kind of, and that's what I lived through. Like I lived through seeing that, being a teacher. I was a teacher and a social worker. I was actually doing 2 jobs, and I was not making enough money. We were homeless not because like I wasn't working or I was a lazy or whatever. I was working full time, or sometimes over full time, 2 jobs, and was unable to afford even a 1-bedroom apartment. Like we had a 1-bedroom apartment at one point. and that was like the biggest. And we were like right in meth central, like right in the most slum area of the city, where we actually had meth heads walk in. We had right next to the highway, and we had like all kind of incidents, and you know, and so that's where Neofeud came from, is my experiences growing up there, you know, and then also teaching, working with the kids there, kids whose parents, you know, they didn't even know who their parents were sometimes, and they were living like 40 to a house, you know. I don't want to tell you all the stories right now, but I talk about them a lot, but that's where it comes from. And you know, it's like if you live in America, that's not just it's not unique to Hawaii. That's Baltimore, that's Oakland. Go down LA, just go downtown LA. Get out of an Uber in San Francisco airport and then go to your hotel and see if you don't see people ODing all over the street there, right? Go to where Boots Riley is actually from, right? What are you gonna find there, right? What are you gonna find there? People dying on the street from fucking fentanyl overdoses, homeless tent cities. I worked in a homeless tent city, and I actually worked in an Episcopalian church. That's where we taught our class out of, and they actually had there were vans and tents. Because there were so many homeless, and the police were beating the shit out of them. If you sleep in front of a Hyatt Hotel, or the Ritz-Carlton, which Trump owns, or the Hyatt Hotel, which Goldman Sachs owns in downtown Waikiki, they beat the fucking shit out of you. And so they would move in, they would push you out of the street, or they just pick you and throw you in a prison, right? You know, and so then the homeless are staying in these like enclaves, or like, you know, wherever they could find them, and then they sweep all your stuff and throw it in a dumpster and burn everything you have, including your birth certificate, you know, your bike, the one phone that took you 6 months to buy so you can try to get a job as a homeless person. They would just burn it all. Anyway, so that's what like that's kind of my deal. So I can sometimes get, you know, I can get like up and about in this thing, but it's like we're in a better place now, but the demons of the hell and the demons of the souls of all of those people that I work with, and my own soul, is all kind of still wrapped up inside of me. So when I go off, it's basically like, I'm like, we talked about ghosts in the chat. I'm basically channeling the spiritual ectoplasm. I'm channeling the spirits of all of those children who are in prison, and I had students who died due to gang violence and police violence. So that's what's coming out. There are 10 cities with thousands of people living. The tour buses, like when you fly into Hawaii on Hawaiian Airlines with the beautiful culture appropriated hula dancer with the flower in her hair, and you get off to have a culture appropriated sacred dance. Hula is actually a sacred dance, where we chant for our ancestors, for the gods. And when you stay in a Hawaii hotel and you have some hula dancer like doing some kind of wearing a plastic fake ass tacky stripper version of a hula outfit, doing some sexy ass hula, that's not real hula. That's a cultural genocide. That's cultural appropriation of Hawaiian culture by a capitalist, foreign, and mostly white class to make a shit ton of money selling our cultural prostitution to everybody. So when you get on that plane, you get out, you meet the hula dancers, they give you a hug, they tell you aloha and mahalo, you know, and they play, and you buy a $20 aloha shirt and a $30 a $30 kalua pork laulau thing, and then you get on a tour bus with another fake culturally appropriated flower on it. You drive you to your hotel in Waikiki. They don't drive you past the 1,000-person homeless tent cities, and people just not in the city, in the houses. There's 40 people living in a 3-bedroom house. I'm not joking. 10 people sleeping on top of each other. We've done that. Me and Holly sleeping on top of our kids, with like me and 3 families in the house. And then in the streets, they don't show you that. That's what's in Hawaii, and that's what's all over the United States. And anyway, and so when you're homeless, they don't want to really do anything for you. They're never going to do anything in capitalism. They just want to keep jacking the real estate price houses. Or they talk about, oh, we're going to build more housing. We're going to build affordable housing. We're going to build affordable housing in LA, Vancouver, Seattle, New York, you name it. They're never going to do that. That's just all lip service and PR propaganda. What they want to do is they want you to die and go to prison. Where we're at. We're in a cyberpunk dystopia, but it's all been papered over. It's all been airbrushed over, so you can't see it.